Hello, and welcome to my channel. This is going to be a long one, so let's get right into it. Today's topic is focusing on bed bugs and your mental health. Bed bugs can wreck sleep and peace of mind, and if you're exhausted, paranoid, or spiraling, this video is for you. I'm Sioncel, a pest control tech, and I'll share calm, practical next steps with ways to take a step back, breathe, and reground yourself so you can manage this as efficiently as possible without jeopardizing your sanity. If bedbugs or pests are making you anxious, listen up. If you are dealing with paranoia, stress, anxiety, panic attacks, depression, or any other mental condition revolving around bedbugs, roaches, or any other pest, know that I have heard you. It is because of how often I have been told this or seen it online that I am starting to make videos on this topic. I'm not a psychologist. I am a pest control business operator who's helped dozens of people through infestations and the panic that comes with them. I want to tell you that you are not alone, and this is not impossible to manage. I have compiled a list of just some of the topics I have heard and have found from looking online that align with this concept and see if any of these reflect what you're feeling. I will add here that there is a whole lot more than what I have listed here, but I just could not fit them all. Feel free to listen and or read along with me. Bedbugs and your mental health. My experience with bedbugs after having severe anxiety about them. After bedbugs, mental health. Bedbugs are ruining my mental health. I'm so stressed out. The mental toll of bedbugs. Bedbugs combined with mental health issues. Emotionally exhausted. How do you recover from bedbug PTSD? Treatment prep is stressing me out. How to prevent bedbugs from impacting my mental health. Living in nightmare due to bedbugs. Bedbugs have destroyed my mental health. Stressed, anxious, can't sleep. I gave my home bedbugs, and I can't forgive myself. When does the anxiety end? Hotel anxiety. How to recover mentally. So stressed, can't sleep or eat. Talk me off the ledge. Paranoia. Spiraling into depression. Classifying bedbug treatment as a battle. Getting over fear and anxiety. If any of these sound familiar, then I'd like to encourage you to join my Discord, as I'd like it to develop into a support group of sorts for what I call bugxiety. That aside, I also will be posting videos of how to manage these bugs in the least intrusive and safest way possible, if they're not available already by the time you see this. I just want you to know that you have been heard. I want to help alleviate as much of the stress as I can from a pest control perspective, but if you need more professional assistance with your mental health, please do reach out to someone for that. They are pests, not a personal failing or indication of a poorly managed or dirty home, and they can be eliminated. In addition to that, the irony isn't lost on me to acknowledge that the online sphere, especially places like Reddit, X, and TikTok, are the biggest reason why I feel like these fears are made worse than they need to be. I'll cover some of the things I've seen that I feel perpetuate this issue in another video. If bedbugs are your biggest fear, why? I'd like to know in the comments below. If you feel yourself spiraling, here are some steps to get back control. Breathe deeply with one hand on your chest and one on your stomach to feel the movement of your breath. Inhale slowly through your nose, allowing your belly to rise, then exhale slowly to feel it fall. Repeat as needed. Alternatively, you can do the 5-4-3-2-1 method. Name 5 things you see, 4 surfaces you can touch, 3 sounds, 2 scents, 1 taste. Move your body for 30 seconds, then pick one small action like checking the mattress seam. Do something by moving your body, such as rolling your shoulders, wiggling your toes, stretching, or go for a walk. Finding one thing in your surroundings to put away or throw away as needed. You can also utilize the 3 C's: catch, check, and change to modify negative thoughts. Catch the thought, check if it's accurate, and change it to a more balanced one. Once you feel grounded or relaxed, again, here are things to consider regarding the bedbug situation. Some information to follow may not be perceived as nice or kind, but my objective is to help you to stop spiraling, not to facilitate it. First things first, you found bites but have not found the source. Should bedbugs be your first assumption? No. But the bites are in a specific pattern and number that are exactly like typical bedbug bites. No again. But my friend or these other dozen people online said that their experience with bedbugs was the exact same thing. Still no. But this, but that, no, absolutely not. Here are some questions you need to answer before going any further with this line of thinking. Have you found any live bugs? Have you found any sign of bedbugs such as black dots, blood spots, primarily around the head of the sleeping area or around the sides and edging of the mattress? Have you found any molts? How about finding any tiny white, almost translucent, slightly larger than a grain of sand, but oval eggs? If the answer to these questions is no, then you likely don't have bedbugs. If yes, take pictures as close and clearly visible as possible without zooming the camera. If you haven't found any live bugs and the bites you have received were along the lower body rather than the upper body, then it is more likely fleas or mosquitoes. Another common household pest that does cause reactions similar to bedbugs is carpet beetle larvae. Their hairs can get embedded into the skin and cause irritation in that same typical pattern that are claimed to be signatures of bedbugs. This applies to flea bites as well. The bite quantity and pattern are not clear indications of bedbugs and should never be assumed to be a guarantee that you have them. Additionally, posting bite pictures online is also not conclusive. There will always be someone that comments on them, indicating that theirs was just like that. So, yes, it has to be bedbugs, when that is so far removed from the truth. Avoid posting bite photos online. Instead, document privately to keep track of possible activity. We're going to take a look at some pictures of examples of things to look out for when searching for bedbugs, so that way you're more prepared and equipped to be able to find them yourself. Alrighty, we're going to start with markings. I've got some other photos we're going to be going through later in this video, but for now, we'll start with what to look for or the indicators that you might have bedbugs. Now, what you see here is the underside of the back of a headboard. This is one of the panels that supports the top of the headboard from falling over. But as you can see up under the underside of that wood panel, all these dots here are the fecal markings or poop markings that bed bugs were here. Same thing with this. This is a much more severe case, but the resident of this home tried to treat it themselves, but they did it improperly, and this is what happens. All the bed bugs got chased up to the ceiling of the room, and they just infested almost the entire ceiling like this, along with the bed that they were in. And like all of the streaking and stuff coming down, that is not from the bed bugs. That is from the attempted treatment that the customer did um, after they were chased up into the wall, or up the wall, and onto the ceiling. Now, as you can see, the top part of this panel is a popcorn ceiling, and this is a light strip that's um, attached to the wall just under the ceiling, and the bed bugs love to go up under these because they are nice and warm and cozy. Normally, they would not go up to the ceiling, but in some cases, they either get chased up there by improper treatments or something is going on in the home or a bug bomb was set off that will cause this as well. Um, Using dusts improperly will cause this. There's a number of things that can cause this, as well as a bed being on the floor instead of on a bed frame. That can cause this as well. Now, a lot of misconceptions that I see online is that treating bed bugs requires bed encasements to go around your mattress or your box spring. However, if you're doing a liquid treatment with a proper pesticide, using these things will actually negate that treatment. As you can see here with all these dots on this cover, they do not protect you from getting infested with bed bugs. It actually just gives them a safe space to rest on, sleep, and breed. Um, I don't like bed bug covers for this reason, and anytime I direct a customer to self-treat or if I'm treating for them, these will not be, included. So, anytime somebody already has them, I make them take them off, and do not put them back on until after the bed bug issue is resolved. These are great for early warning systems to be able to see these dots if you don't already have a bed bug problem, but if you do, then these need to come off. So in this case, I took them off so I could treat the box spring and the mattress properly, and they were kept off until after they were gone. Now this is, not really sure what this is on exactly, but it's a good indication of the feces markings and the eggs. Granted, I know the pictures aren't always great, but I'm not a photographer. I kill bugs for a living. So, but you can see all of these eggs. As we zoom in on these, you can see that some of them have open holes at the tops, like these. Those are already hatched out eggs. Most of these probably are hatched out. Like you can see all these open circles on them. So these are mostly all hatched out. But when you're looking at this with your naked eye, it is almost impossible to see that. So using pictures, taking pictures and documenting is the easiest way to be able to see stuff like this in such vivid detail. Now, this is a joint for a twin bed with the wooden slats that go across from side to side. But in the corner where the metal bracket is, you can see all these white dots here. These are eggs. You can't really see them too well as we zoom in, but each of these little white dots is an egg. Here's another bed bug cover with more fecal markings on the cover where they were just living it up and multiplying on somebody's bed. Here's another one with the fecal markings all over the mattress cover. Now, this is a situation I don't encounter very often, but it does happen where if you look closely, you can see roaches here, a dead roach there, but there's also molts from bed bugs here. So this was a nest of bed bugs and roaches that I had mostly cleaned up before I took the picture because I forgot. But there's a lot of molts here. A lot of this fecal matter is from the combination of bed bugs and roaches. You can see an actual bug here. Um, you can. Can't really see it very well, but it's right here. And probably some others in there that are just too small for me to pull out of this picture, but this is another bedbug cover that they were just going out of control in their multiplying on it. Because it especially when they don't fit properly, all of these folds and excess fabric here hangs off underneath the bed, and it just gives them the perfect place to multiply on. And another bedbug cover with all the dots from the bedbugs. Now this is a um, looks like a frame for like a king style bed, not a king's captain's bed kind of thing. But all of this is bedbug markings on the wood. Now I will say doing liquid treatments on wood like this also has the same effect as the bedbug covers, but I still treat these because um, just because the wood may not stay effective for a whole 30 days, the surrounding perimeter will. And like the metal pieces will keep it here and here. And maybe this stuff here will, but the raw wood like this can soak up a liquid treatment and make it not last as long as it should. Now this is up in the inside of like a bookcase. Um, Picture's not very clear, but you can see the eggs here and the dots for the fecal matter. And there is a bug, live bug right there. Can't really see it very well. He's hiding right there in that. This is a bed rail. Um, we'll get to the live bugs that were found on this in the next section where most of the live bugs will be pictured. But there was a metal bracket on this rail that, when lifted up, this was up under it. And the bracket had a felt or a fabric piece that protected the wood from it. But as you can see here, the bed bugs were just living under it. So you got the eggs and the fecal matter here, all right where that bracket was sitting. This is a shelf that was made but not finished. So there's no paint or clear coat or anything on it. So it's raw wood as well. But you can see the black dots here of where the bed bugs were at. And this is another situation again where the lights were attached to the wall. Um, and then the bed bugs were living up under it. So they got taken down and we treated this. Get rid of. Now, even after treatment, those markings are still going to be there. Once all the bed bugs are gone, then this can be mostly cleaned off with just soap and water, but it may take a little bit of elbow grease or repainting, one of the two. Now, here's another a twin bed frame with the wooden slats. You can see the the dots on the wood from the fecal markings. We'll be coming back to this bed where I'll show you where I found the culprit of these markings. But for now, this is the markings on the rail. This is a very like caught early on infestation. There wasn't a whole lot of activity. So we had to use these markings to find where the bed bugs were hiding. There was not very many of them. And that is the last photo for these. Um, We'll be going back to the other screen to discuss a few other things before we come back to the live bug pictures. Alrighty. So, as you can see, um, if you don't have these kinds of markings on your bed, your mattress, anywhere around the sleeping areas, and these can be on recliners as well, couches, sofas, stuff like that. But if you don't see these, then it's not a necessity to panic, which I don't recommend doing anyway, but you want to look for these first and then take the proper steps if you find them. Now, the second topic I wanted to cover is now you have actually found live bugs. What now? Take a breath, relax, and be wary of doom scrolling on the internet. This will fuel your anxiety, and it is best to avoid it. Bedbugs are not the end of the world plague that they are made out to be online. They're also not invisible, nor do they possess special powers. And yes, bugxiety has made people believe they do. You don't need to throw everything away. In fact, it is best that you don't. However, decluttering would be good, not just for this, but for peace of mind. You also don't need to move or burn the house down. Don't go to the local store and start buying everything you can find that are marketed for bedbug treatment but actually don't work. This video is not about treatment, but if you have access to Crossfire, then get that from Amazon or any other reliable online retailer to treat your home with by following the label directions. If you have that with a 1 gallon cheap sprayer with adjustable tip, a flashlight, or a headlamp that is close to 800 lumens, and a vacuum, then you can do this yourself relatively easily. If you found them in a hotel or Airbnb, take a breath and a few minutes away from the affected room. It doesn't mean you have to throw away all your stuff and take a shower for several hours. Anything that can be laundered should be in a dryer for 30 minutes on high heat. Other items should be inspected and put in Ziploc bags. Go to a local Walmart, Lowe's, or Home Depot and see if they have a Raid purple foaming bedbug aerosol spray or Harris aerosol spray, and make sure the active ingredient is clothianidin. This is the only type that works efficiently. Use this to treat the inside of your luggage and bags, then let dry and return the contents to it. You can also do this for the bottom of your shoes and inside a vehicle. This should be sufficient enough to deal with the issue when away from home and keep things in the tub, shower, or up off the floor away from the bed. Keep in mind these are on-demand emergency type purchases and not ones I would recommend if you're not traveling and you need to treat a whole house. Do you need to leave the location? This depends. If you're in a hotel, get a different room several away from the affected one and make sure to check the bed and resting areas. This should always be done anytime you travel anywhere, including friends or family homes. This doesn't just apply to cheap motels either, as this can happen in five-star hotels as well. Bedbugs do not discriminate. If you're in an Airbnb or similar short-term rental, check all the beds, couches around the head area, edges, seams, cracks, and crevices. Any rooms that are affected, remove all your stuff from it and put down a towel at the base of the door and don't go back in there. If you have nowhere left to sleep due to finding bed bugs in all rooms, which is highly unlikely, then ask to be transferred to another location or get a refund. Make sure to take pictures and include identifiable items in the unit so you can prove to the owner and the platform that the problem exists. Make sure to inspect everything once at home. If you can, order a 1 gallon sprayer and the 5 packets of Alpine WSG and do a preventative treatment in your home to keep it protected following the label instructions. I'll put these items in the description below. This is also under the assumption that the located bug is actually a bed bug. There have been many a bug posted online asking for identification that are wrongly accused of being bed bugs. Any inquiries in this regard can be emailed to me if needed with the title of bug identification. The main thing is do not panic. It will not help get rid of them any faster. The process takes time and it will be okay. Let's take a look at some pictures of live bugs and places where they can be found. So here are some live bugs. This is up under the back of a headboard. As you can see, they're all right here. And they like to hide in nooks and crannies and cracks and corners where they are generally hard to find if you don't know where to look. So this is the panel on the back of a headboard that supports the weight of the top, just like the first markings picture I showed you. This is the back of a recliner. And as you can see, there's a seam here of fabric that they're just right up on the seam. Same up in here, right in the crack and in the fold. There's eggs, babies, and false adults right here. This is a female. And there's eggs, babies. But as you can see, they're pretty predictable in the places they like to go. And the seams, cracks, and crevices and folds are perfect for them. So that's the first place to look. Here's another fold of another, maybe the same piece of furniture. I don't remember. It's been so long. But that's a bed bug there with some eggs, the fecal spots, baby right here. And the picture isn't good enough quality to see if all of these eggs have hatched or not, but there's some molts here as well, so it is likely that several of them have hatched out. This is another recliner, and you can see that like the folds, cracks, crevices area of this recliner is exactly where they are at. Because you can look down here in the smooth areas and there's not any activity in all of those areas. And even up here is pretty clear, except for back here. So they will cluster in groups. And once they find, or female finds a place she wants to um, hide out, she'll stay there for a while laying eggs until she's chased off again. But you can see here, there's the bugs here. These are molts. They're very light tan, it's kinda see-through. Right here is another molt, but there's a lot of eggs right here and then the fecal matter as well. This is a similar, piece of furniture. It may be the same one, I don't remember, but I know this house had several pieces of furniture that look the same. But you can see right along here, this is a hot spot right under this section right here because it's close to the head area. So this seam right here, and then right up under here, um, and along this crack here. And you can see some black dots in here as well. So they do travel, but you'll find most of them clustered together. And in a situation like this, they'll generally start from the top or this top section and work their way down. So this, as you've seen in the previous picture, this one, this infestation is a little bit further along. It is not in its early stages. They have definitely spread out. So that means that they've been here at least like 6 months or so at this point. Somewhere between 3 and 6 months. I can't give an exact. Again, black markings here, eggs, fecal matter, and then there's more activity up here, and all up in here. The molts and eggs here. Now this is not bedbug related, so you gotta make sure to correctly identify markings that you're finding because this is just smudge marks and has nothing to do with the bedbugs, whereas this here does have to do with the bed. And this is also not from them. This is where a staple is, so there's been smudging, potentially from floor contact or something like that. But like these two dots here, they haven't really gotten in up inside this piece of furniture yet. Oop, I think I skipped one. No, skipped not. All right, back of a headboard, same issue. This house had a bedbug cover on it. As you can see, this is also a reason why they're not effective because you get the rub marks and then they break open and have holes in them. So what's the point? They're not serving the purpose that they were designed for. But here is the live bugs on the back of this headboard. Um, the first markings photo that I took was actually the bottom of this headboard. And this is where they were hiding at. And there's eggs here, fecal markings, live bugs. This is also a piece of a headboard. They love these buttons on the front. It doesn't matter if the surface is vinyl or fabric, they will go for these buttons. And even these creases right here, they like once their numbers start getting big enough, they're going to start expanding into these creases. But for now, you can see them right up under all the fecal markings, the eggs, the live bugs. Here's another button on the same headboard up underneath. There's molt here, fecal markings. I can't even count how many are in there because obviously we can't see them all, but a lot of them can fit in this space. This is not the back of a headboard, but it is the bottom of one of those mechanical beds. And you can see all of these white spots or eggs, and then a whole cluster of them right here. And molts, more eggs, fecal matter, live bugs. And there's no markings up here. So, like, if you're just looking at the outside of this piece of furniture and not lifting it up, then you're not going to see these markings. And this is also a mechanical bed. You can see the markings all up under here, but not a whole lot up here. So again, you need to flip these things over in order to be able to find them. Otherwise, just looking at the side when it's laying down properly, you'll never see these things. There's more eggs down here, as you can see right here, and a bunch of molts and babies. This is another shot. I think it's the same bed because we've got a bunch of activity up here. But then you can see where they're not officially nests because they don't build a nest per se, but I call them nests because they're like clustered groups of them. So this is a clustered group, another cluster group, another group, and another group. And uh, it may have been the same female that did all of this. It could be different ones. There's no way to know, but all of this is egg matter. and babies and shed skins. So this is also one that's pretty far along, and not an early catch. It would not be like this in like 2 months of finding them. Because 2 months is the usual window of when most people find them. Nice clear picture of a molt, some babies, and female here, and some other ones there. All of them are nested here on a bedbug cover. This is the inside of a sofa, and this house was severely infested with bedbugs and roaches. Fortunately, the roaches weren't so bad that they were infesting the furniture, but they can get that way if left alone long enough. But in this case, this is just bed bugs in the crease of a sofa. This is the same sofa in a different spot. See another nest here, nesting here. There's another nest right here and right here. But they stay along the seams, the edging, the cracks. For the most part, that's where they're going to go. There's another crack right here, and you can see one right there. There's some up here as well. Those are molts, because they do travel around looking for new places to hide, but they're generally not going to have like a blatant nest like this in a spot like this. Unless, of course, it was up against a wall in the spot or something, and then they'll be on the crack where the sofa met the wall. This is another headboard. There is activity that I found right here, and this was the only place in this entire house where I had found activity. But you can see, zooming in, there's the fecal matter, the eggs, molts, and the live activity right there. But as far as the rest of this headboard and the rest of this room was clear. So this is what you need to look for when you're early on in an infestation. If you get bites, but you haven't found a live bug, this is the places where you're going to need to. Now, this one is another one that was years in advance of how far along it's come. Uh, house was also infested. All the bedrooms, the living room, even the dining room were all infested in this house. And there's molts here, eggs, live bugs right here. And this is the bottom of a chair that we took the leg off of. So some furniture may require removal of the feet to find them on the bottom, because they love to go to the bottom or head areas. They'll start at the head, and then as they expand, this is more of what you would expect to see. Now, here's the markings on a mattress, on the bottom of a mattress. Again, if you're just looking around the outside of it, you're not going to see this. Um, the fecal matter is all right here, concentrated up against the seam, and there's a bunch of eggs, bugs, babies, molts, everything all right here. Picture's not that clear, but you get the idea. Again, all of this is clear. So there's no real markings here. There's like one here, some couple over here, but like these are the things you need to look for to like breadcrumb your way to the source. Here's another one. Now, this is kind of an odd situation because like this black mark here is not from the bed bug, but the dots here are. Now, unless the only other thing I can think of is if the person that has this mattress tried to clean it at some point and messed up all the markings and kind of rubbed it in. But by default, that's not what they look like. But all of these are, but again, it looks like they were cleaned off. And it if they used alcohol or something like that to try and get rid of these, it clearly did not work. And it doesn't work. Alcohol is useless. Granted, it works to kill on contact, but that's the only purpose it serves, and it's a waste of time. But here's some molts, markings, some eggs up in here. This is from the bedbugs as well, this debris here, some molts and markings here, more molt markings. So it's like you can see the clusters. There's a cluster, 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 cluster. This is one female bedbug in a screw hole, and you can see the egg with her. There's a crack in the footboard of a bed, and you can see the activity right here. Again, this is another house that had very few like active bed bugs. So like this is where we needed to find them, was in these cracks. And we'll see the headboard of this bed shortly. But this is the footboard, and this is the headboard. And this picture is zoomed in so you can clearly see where she's at. But this hole was very tiny. It was like maybe a ½ inch wide. And this was the only spot that they were at, but you can see here on this egg, it has that open hole, so it's already hatched out. Here's another screw hole that has a lot more activity than the other one. All the fecal matter around the outside and eggs in here, and I'm not going to try to guess how many are in this hole, but there is a lot of them in there because that hole is as deep as the other one. And you can see a lot of these eggs are open with open holes. So you can see that they've hatched out. There's another screw hole on a ledge of a mattress or a bed frame. There's fecal matter, eggs, probably a bunch of molts in there. But again, I have no idea how many are in this hole. But when dealing with situations like this, the vacuum is going to be your best friend, because if you start spraying this with stuff, it's going to make a huge mess and it's going to be nasty. And here's an egg here, here, and here. And here's another egg. This is a curtain. They love curtains because they've got the folds along the top, and this is exactly where they're going to be expected to be found if this curtain is in contact with the bed. And in this case, for this house, the bed was right up against this curtain. So this is where they were, and primarily they were on this curtain instead of on the bed itself. And sometimes they'll do that if a better option presents itself, which they seem to like this curtain more. Well, that's where they went. But it was in contact with the bed, so they were easy to find. This is another bed rail with a bunch of bed bugs living in some powder. I don't know what this powder is, but this person tried to self-treat with some kind of bed bug powder, and as you can see, it did nothing. They actually love to live in it, and there's a bunch of molts, babies, eggs, fecal matter. Like, they did not care that this powder was here. And there's eggs on the side here as well. Again, this is a vacuum situation. Do not spray something like this. This is the back of a dresser, I think, or maybe a headboard or something, footboard, I don't know, but you can see the eggs in the crack here. That picture actually came out pretty decent where you can zoom in and you can see all of these holes. Every one of these eggs was hatched out. So these are not active eggs. But whenever I do a service for somebody, even if I see eggs like this, I can't tell in the moment if they've hatched out or not. So I will go ahead and remove these with a vacuum. And I use a nail kit, um, like for fingernails, a file or something, a metal one that I slide into these cracks to get these eggs out. This is the back of a sofa, right along the edge. Very predictable behavior. Dot, dot, dot. Some dots here for them traveling around, but once they found this spot, this is where they stayed. A bunch of babies, adults, eggs, fecal matter, molts. This is also in the seam of a fitted sheet on a bed. Um, they found this spot and they loved hanging out here. So you can see all the fecal matter, the molts, live bugs right here. And there's a bunch more up under the seam right here. Eggs. Like this sheet was on this bed and the person staying in it didn't notice they were getting bites because they didn't react to them. And they hardly ever change their sheets. So this is what happens. For this situation, I also do vacuum off stuff like this if I find them as best as I can, and then I advise customers to just toss these in the laundry on wash and dry high heat, and if it can withstand it, then you can keep it. Otherwise, it needs to be tossed. This customer just chose to toss it and not bother with it. So I removed what activity I could. This is another situation where it has been years in progress, and you can see all along this crack here how infested it is. And this whole bed frame was like this. And not only was the bed frame like this, the whole bed frame is raw wood. So in a situation like this, I generally remove as much activity as I can, but because this wood is going to soak up the treatment, you can sometimes use dusts in a situation like this, but I generally don't recommend DIYing dust because it's usually applied wrong. However, in my product list that'll be in the description, I will include an applicator for Samexa to use in situations like this. So after all of the activity is removed, you can, I do a liquid treatment and then when I come back, I'll put in some dust in here. But the only other alternative with raw wood is burning it and getting a metal bed. I always recommend metal beds. These wood beds are not conducive to an effective treatment of bed bugs. Now, that's not to say that I would throw it away right away. I would get them dealt with first as best as possible, then get rid of it and replace the bed. This is at the foot of a bed. This is the same picture that I had in the marking section where the light strip was on the wall on the ceiling and they were up under the light strip. This is the same house and the same bedroom. And this is the footboard bookshelf on a captain's bed. and this is the crack up inside that bookshelf. Um, Again, the feet area is not where they would normally be early on in an infestation, but this one had been progressed for some time where the customer tried to treat it themselves and they caused this to happen because they did the wrong treatment. So instead of being up at the head area, they're down at the foot area, they were up on the ceiling, they were down at the baseboard and down where the carpet meets the baseboard areas. They had gone to several other places to get away from the mattress that was being sprayed with I don't even know what. But they still were able to get to the host and feed and multiply. This is that same bedroom with the captain's bed from the previous picture. As you can see, there's a lot of things that go around online that bed bugs will go inside like socket panels like this. I have not found that to be true unless the panel doesn't sit flush against the wall. If it does, then they're going to do this. They're going to just sit along the edge of it and not go behind it because it's a perfect place for them. But they don't typically travel through the wall like this, like it's said that they do. If a home is severely infested, yeah, they can. But when you catch them pretty early on, that is not really a concern that I really like advocate for that being an issue. Um, Unless again the house is in disrepair and this does not sit flush against the wall, then they will go inside. Here's another bed bug cover with a nice comfortable nest of bed bugs living it up with actually two nests. There's molts and stuff here and here. And you can see how fecal the difference between the fecal markings on solid surfaces as opposed to soft surfaces. This is the back of a headboard, very common headboard style with the zipper. They love these zippers, and that's primarily where they'd like to go. There is also like folds and pieces of fabric under here that they like to go in, as well as along spaces like this. But they'll be up around the head area first and do stuff like this, where you can see all these white spots is the eggs, and there's the bugs up under the folds, and here's some babies and molts. More babies here. All these eggs. I had vacuumed this off, and when I vacuumed this, it looked brand new. So bedbug presence doesn't always destroy everything that they live on, but this back panel looked brand new, primarily because it's black. I mean, you're gonna see these dots here still on the white, but the back looked like it had never had bed bugs on it when using a vacuum. This is the mattress that goes with that severely infested raw wood bed frame, and you can see how far along this is. They tried treating it themselves, so ultimately ended up spreading it further around the room and making it worse, and just time allowing it to expand. And a lot will ask, like, how do they tolerate living in a home that is this infested? And they just didn't react to the bites. Um, they didn't really start noticing it until their son started getting bit in his room. And then from there because the sun would go from one room to the other and go back and forth, and that's how they ended up spreading in that regard. Once they noticed, they started trying to spray it themselves, and then that's how they spread it throughout the rest of their own bedroom. This is the same bed, but the frame of it, and you can see them right inside the cracks of the raw wood that the guy had built it himself, and it was a really nice bed frame before this happened. It's unfortunate, but if you wanna build your own furniture, at least put some kinda clear coat or something on it to protect it. Stain is not enough. Um, Clear coat will make it to where if you do need to treat for bed bugs at any point in the future, then it will retain the treatment rather than soaking it up. Same bed, different spot, so many eggs and live bugs all up in there. This is, the side of a headboard because you can see the feet are touching the ground here. This is the side of the headboard right in the crack. Predictable behavior. No markings here, none really here. So if you just look at the back of the headboard, you won't see them until you check the very edges where they like to nest. There is some spider activity here as well. So they have no problems living with spiders. Spiders will eat them, just not fast enough. Same with roaches. This is another house that was infested severely. Um, the, Several years of time had transpired before they got treatment. And they also tried putting bedbug covers on their mattresses and doing self treatment, and it did not work. So, and this is also the same house that had the bedbugs living in the powder stuff. I don't know what the powder was, but whatever it was, they didn't care. And you can see the eggs have open holes. So most of these are. This is another spot they love to go, right up on the edges of the fabric on the bottom of a box spring, as well as up under these plastic pieces. There's molts, some eggs, live bugs. But as you can see, there's no activity around the outlet. Now, it's hard to say whether or not this on the baseboard is from them or not. Um, I don't recall if it was or not, but this could also just be general dirt buildup over time, especially in kids' rooms. This is quite common, or having pets in the home. Seeing baseboards like this is not uncommon for. So it may not be bedbug related, or it may be. And there it is up under the box spring plastic piece. This customer had been dealing with bed bugs for a number of years. She had others come out and treat them. They'd go away, she'd get them back. They'd go away, she'd get them back. I mean, I'm pretty sure that this poor lady kept getting them back just from the kids going to school, because every school year they would come back. But once I went in there and treated it, now I do a preventative bed bug treatment for her, so she has not had any problems these past 2 years. This is also a predictable location to find them on the back of a, couch cushion, right where the zipper is or the seams. Um, Most of this will be untouched and won't have many signs on them, though it looks like there is an egg there. Like, They don't go very far, so this is a predictable result of all these eggs hatching out. So there's a bunch of molts here, a bunch of babies all here. I would just vacuum all of this up. This is up under the piece of entertainments type sofa where you can put they have a storage compartment in between the two recliners. And the recliners were fine. There was no signs of them there, but they were up underneath this piece where the remotes and stuff were stored. Um, this is also another thing I vacuumed out, and it looked like it was brand new, like there had never been any here. Same piece of furniture, just a different spot, another cluster, whereas the other cluster was like down way down here. This is in the same house as that other, actually, no, this is a different house, but I had to pull the legs off of this as well. This is a sofa, and once I pulled off the legs, that's where they were all hiding. There was none anywhere else on the couch, but most of these legs were infested. And it was the triangular shaped legs where they had the 2 screws going into the bottom here. They had enough of a crack or gap to be able to fit underneath um, in this side here and start and setting up shop. And you can see a lot of bugs sitting right here too. This is another years long infestation. This house had them almost literally everywhere um, that bed bugs would be typically found. So here they don't go in carpets. So like constant vacuuming of your carpets is not necessary for bed bugs. They don't like carpet, but they will go up along the edge of it. So you can see where the carpet meets the wall here on these stairs. Um, the collection of them is right here. They don't go into like the main part of the carpet unless there's furniture sitting in that spot, and you'll see that in a coming. But this, again, years long infestation. This is a couch that has been almost completely overtaken by bed bugs. The lady did not react to bites, so she didn't even care if she was living with them. She just let it go and let it go until one of her family members had found out that she was living like this, and that's when they called me to come in and deal with it. But severe, severe infestation. This is the same couch, different spot. Like, can you even see how many eggs are here? Like, that is a crazy amount of eggs in just one spot. And there's more like hiding in the crease right here and the crease right here. There's one there. Like, this was not visible without me spreading it out like this, as you can see. Different spot on the same couch. Again, same issue. Obviously, this picture is not very clear, but you can see the white specks. The brown is the molts, the white's the eggs, and all of these are live active bugs. And I went and had to vacuum all of these out. And there's a bunch of eggs over here too. Same house. This is where that same couch was sitting. Again, the couch was up against the wall. So, yes, they will go along the wall here. You can see the spiders were thrilled as well with all the cobwebs. But they're, again, right up against the edge. They don't care about the main part of the carpet. This is a different house, but the side of a dresser. And they're all in this crack here. and then the activity is primarily right here. But there were no other sightings or markings on this piece of furniture. This was just right up against the bed, that was quite infested. Alright. Again, with the raw wood, this this piece of furniture I had treated a couple of times and it just did not go away, so the customer ended up burning these and getting metal beds, but you can see again with the crack. They just love being in these kinds of tight spaces. This is the same bed, just a different angle, and this is up under where these are 2 by 4s put together with a piece of plywood on top. This is not conducive to an effective treatment for bed bugs. They will manage to survive on these with regardless of what treatment is used. This was in a mobile RV type situation where the bottom part of the bed lifts up for storage, and they were in the crack where their storage was put at. A lot of eggs, bed bugs, live and molt with all of this fecal matter. Now, I removed all of the bed bug activity, but the black marks will stay. I can't do anything on this kind of rough textured surface. So that bed rail that you can see over here that I indicated had the metal um, piece on it to hold up the box spring. This is the felt piece that was under it, and this is where the bed bugs were hiding on all four of the brackets that were on this bed. But they were nowhere else. They were not on the mattress. They were not on the box spring. They were just up under these brackets. Again, mattress seam, lots of live activity and fecal matter in a close cluster. Another mattress, same issue. This is a box spring, I think, but the same problem. Now, this is another years long infestation in this house. Um, and this is like, I think, like a shed type thing that they turned into a temporary residence while they fixed up their main house. And this was under the box spring. This was in a recliner, I believe, in a cluster of fabric, and you can see a bunch of babies, eggs, and live bugs. Bottom of a box spring, typical location to find them. This is in a bookshelf or some kind of shelving unit. Could have been a bed frame for all I remember. It's been so long. But eggs, fecal matter, live bugs, all up in the corners. Nice little crack there for them to hide in. And there's some up here as well, and in this crack too. And there's an egg right here and here. Some eggs over here. There is actually a bed bug in this picture. Very hard to see. If you didn't have a bright enough flashlight, you would not be able to pick it out. Like, all of this activity here, it tells me that there's one nearby, especially, like, right here, but I don't see one there. However, is one here. So, very easy to miss when there isn't that many, but the signs are there to follow. But as you can see, it hasn't advanced far enough where they've moved into these spots because these would be also infested if it had. And this crack right here is also a favored location. Those are all the places that need to be checked. This is a back of a recliner, I believe, all along the seam right here. They like to go along this seam as well, and this seam right here, and then this seam right in here. And then there's also the seam along the top that they love to go in as well. But for this case, we managed to catch it early enough. This is the only spot that they were at, was right here along this seam and on the other side in the same spot. And this is that bed frame I was saying, the last marking picture where we were looking for the bed bug when we found those black dots. And this is where we ended up finding her. This is the back of a nightstand. And you can see them right here. With the eggs and live bugs here. I don't see too many molts, but um, they're they're around somewhere. But this is our last picture for today. I do have a whole bunch more pictures. I'm just not gonna go through them in this video, but I will be posting them throughout other videos. So for now, hope that gives you a good idea of what to look for, where to find them, and uh, a basic idea of treatment options and how to do that with different surface types. And we'll go jump back to go through our next. Alrighty. So the last or second to last thing I wanted to cover, professional services can range widely. DIY is possible and cheaper if you follow correct methods. If you do this yourself, then your prep work is minimal and will alleviate the stress of having to do it for a pest control company. They will charge you at minimum about 500 and the average upper range of 3 to 5,000 just to do all the pre-treatment work yourself. I'm not saying not to have a professional do the service, but it is up to you to decide if what they're doing is actually going to work and if it's worth the money. I do these services and I know how easy they can be to do. It may be a financial loss for me, but if a customer cannot afford the service, I tell them how to do it themselves. Unless a company is using Aprehend, then I don't see a need to have it done professionally. Aprehend is the best treatment option that I know of, but it requires special equipment and applicator training, so I don't recommend doing this yourself. I'll go into more detail about each treatment type and how I feel about them in another video. The last thing is, it is possible to find some suspicious sightings, but have no bites. Or with two people in the same bed, one apparently gets bites, but the other doesn't. It is possible for individuals to not react to bites or for bed bugs to favor targets. However, it's still important to find the live bugs for the reasons previously iterated. Keep in mind that bed bug situations are not one size fits all. However, bedbug behavior is predictable, but doing the wrong treatment will make them unpredictable. Later videos will show step by step treatments and what to expect. In closing, I'd like to emphasize the mind's ability to also cause symptoms of bedbugs when there are none. This is why it is very important to not let the idea of them consume you and to treat them just like any other bugs that are insignificant. Bedbugs don't carry disease and are not harmful despite the aggravation. They are one of the many lesser bugs. You cannot let them have power over you. This doesn't mean to disregard them and not treat them if you do find them. They will absolutely take over a home, just like roaches, if they are left to do so. I hope this helps someone keep or regain control of their own sanity when dealing with bedbugs. Join the Discord for peer support, drop one sentence about your biggest worry below, and subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming videos. And until next time, don't let the bedbugs bite.